Buddy, welcome to my legs. It's cold here in Texas now. I'm getting my beverage. I'm turning the TV on. I'm watching the last 10 minutes of the previous episode. But I'm not doing that tonight. What are you doing tonight, Jordan?
Well, I'm wondering what's cold for you in Texas.
Actually, there's a sleet and snow warning for tonight here in Texas.
Oh, really? Because I thought it was cold here, but it's 45, so we're not getting any snow or sleet.
Yeah, no, it's been in the 30s the last couple nights.
Wow.
Yeah, but you're right, John. It is odd not having a new show to watch.
This is when I usually start firing up the Twitter folk, getting them, give them a little pep talk, getting ready to go. It's always a lot of fun.
Theater.
Yeah. Twitter's a lot of fun during the show. It's hard.
Hey, is it okay to yell movie in a crowded firehouse? Actually, I borrowed that joke from Steve Martin. So
who? No, I'm just kidding.
Credit where credit is due.
Fantastical. Bradley, let's get our sponsorship out of the way so we can start the fun.
Okay, this episode, as always, is sponsored by our good friends at DCBService.com. This is where you can get your monthly comic book fix in and save a lot of money at the same time. DCB Service is just wonderful. We all use it on the show, or most of us do anyway. We're going to save 40, 45%, 50% on most of the books we order, sometimes more. Sometimes you got specials going on. Currently, this month, they have solicited the 93rd issue of Walking Dead, and also there's a new printing of the Walking Dead Compendium. You've heard us mention that several times. Both of those items are discounted at 40% off. I want to read the solicitation for Walking Dead number 93. It's very interesting. A larger world begins here, and it's a really cool cover. If you guys haven't seen it, it's really cool. It kind of really makes you what's going on. It says, as we ramp up to the release of our monumental 100th issue, can you guys believe it's almost 100 issues for this book?
That's pretty crazy.
Like 100 issues is about 8 years. Has it really been that long?
I think it's actually been longer because it's been several months where they missed.
Oh, that's true. It says, as we ramp up to our monumental 100th issue, the world is changing. Rick and his band of survivors are faced with new threats and new opportunities. Nothing will ever be the same, and with this book, you know we mean it. I'm going to send you guys a cover to this book. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, guys.
The thing, Brad, is that I was 6 when the series first came out.
Oh, good Lord.
Jerk alert.
No.
Yeah, thank you. I almost had a heart attack. So again, visit DCBService.com for all your Walking Dead comic book and trade paperback and hardcover and zombie killer size book needs. Use the code WD8 for extra 8% off if this is your first time to order from DCB Service, or if you haven't done it in the last 12 months. They're good people, and we're glad to be associated with them.
Yeah, and a lot of people, especially on the Facebook group, have mentioned that they've tried it and they're very happy, and now there are a bunch of people saying they're getting the compendium and stuff. So that's really cool. So let us know, if you order for the first time and you use the code and stuff, let us know how it goes, for sure. And one thing I do want to mention, a little bit of comic book stuff. I think issue number 92 could be of interest to people that watch the TV show. Jordan, I think, pointed out to me first, or maybe it was Brad that pointed out to me first.
It was me. Yeah, I don't know how much we should say. I mean, it's pure speculation. There is absolutely no evidence that this could be the person we've all been waiting for to show up in the comic. Again, pure speculation, but my eyebrow was raised nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, we can go as far as saying that at the end of issue 91, a figure is watching the group with binoculars, and he's totally on purpose covered up, with a scarf over his face and a hat and a big jacket, so you can't get any read on what this person might look like. But, we're putting two and two together. We know that Robert Kirkman has said that certain characters from the show may show up in the comic book. So if you have any interest in this sort of thing, you might want to check out issue 91, more so 92, we're thinking. Alrighty, Jordan, you have a little something special to let people know about today.
Indeed I do. Do you guys like Cowboys?
Not the ones from Dallas that lose to
bite
the...
your tongue. My boys lost tonight.
Do you guys like actual Cowboys?
Sure.
Only if they look like Harrison Ford and Daniel Craig.
Are you a fan of Aliens by any chance?
That I like Aliens a lot, yes.
Well, our friends over at MediaJunkyard.com, that's the Media Junkyard podcast, who I went to go see the Spider-Man musical with them. Some of them been on our show before. I've been on their show before. Great guys, great show. They hooked us up with a contest, and I think we're going to turn it over to Chris from Media Junkyard right now.
Please pardon this podcast interruption, but I have a special announcement and a contest opportunity for you, the fine listeners of this program. Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford starring Cowboys and Aliens, the action-packed sci-fi western from the director of Iron Man. Now available on DVD and extended edition Blu-ray combo pack. The stranger with no memory of his past leads an unlikely posse of cowboys, outlaws, and Apache warriors against a common enemy from beyond this world. In a film critics call wickedly original, unlike anything you've ever seen. Take home the DVD and extended edition Blu-ray combo pack today, only from Universal Studios Home Entertainment. Rated PG-13, extended edition not rated. This film is now in stores, but we're giving you the chance for it to be in your hand. It's easy to enter this Twitter contest for your chance to win a free copy of this film. Free 99, boys and girls. All you have to do is send out a tweet mentioning your favorite famous cowboys or aliens using the hashtag #MyFavoriteCowboysAndAliens, spelled out A-N-D. For example, you could say, a classic, but still the best, E.T. is my favorite cowboys and aliens, A-N-D. Once again, all you have to do is send out a tweet mentioning your favorite famous cowboy or aliens and use the hashtag #MyFavoriteCowboysAndAliens for your chance to win a free copy of this film.
Okay, thank you, Chris, for that. Everybody be sure to enter. That's a really cool contest and really easy to enter.
Yeah, we like those guys. Good people.
Good show. All right, on to the Walking Dead talk, I think.
Yeah, I think we have an issue that we're going to address, and we're going to mix it in with some iTunes reviews that we received, and we're just going to breeze through and sort of thank the people that left some new reviews for us, and then we're going to yell at somebody. Brad, what do you think?
Let's see. We got several iTunes reviews. Pulling the curtain back, they were solicited. We asked for them, but we appreciate them. It's nothing new. We ask for iTunes reviews all the time.
Yes, and we should state that no one ever asks for a 5-star review. We tell them just please review the show because it helps.
As evidenced by something we'll mention here in a second. But we got one from Aquaboy, 1976, Susan Terrell, Michelle Peoples, Ray 99, 88 Mustang, Mick Vixen, Christine Nakamoto, who is our friend Fake Sixpack, and Nachote. I like that name, but I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. In fact, that may be one that we've mentioned before. But the one we wanted to bring up was a 1-star review. And actually, apparently, it was a follow-up review by this person who has left one before. He goes by the handle Elijah's iPod, and he has a beef with us. Should I read the review itself?
Sure. Yeah, why don't you read it in full?
Okay. Update. This was by far my favorite podcast for the Walking Dead TV show, and I've left a positive review in the past. Read below in parentheses. Quickly, that says, great podcast, spoiler-free, very detailed and insightful, awesome interviews, and that New York Comic Con panel was amazing, thanks. He goes on and says, now, I've only seen the TV show and have appreciated the light comparisons to the comic without spoilers. Up until now, ! The repeated mention of Shane's upcoming death, especially in the Pretty Much Dead Already episode, without any mention of spoiler alert, just about killed my interest in the show. I'd rather not listen, and he means our podcast. I'd rather not listen at all if the conversation is going to gear around speculation referenced around a spoiler event. Having said that, I'll listen to the next podcast to see if this issue has been addressed and corrected. Well, guess what, Elijah? We're addressing it right now. Whether it's going to be corrected or not, that'll be up to you to decide.
I feel like I should have a disclaimer disclaimer already too.
Yeah.
The views of Brad Milo do not necessarily represent the views.
No, we're on board with Brad. So you go ahead, Brad, and then I think we'll have a little something to add.
Yeah, that was not the first time that we had spoken about Shane's death in the comics. We talked about it a few episodes in the past and made a huge big deal about it being a spoiler. And it was not something, in fact, it was me that brought it up. It was not something I did lightly. And the only reason I did bring it up is because Robert Kirkman himself, the creator of this thing we love so much, mentioned it. And it was out there for the public to see. And just because you hadn't seen it or heard it, it doesn't mean that it didn't exist. So I personally am sorry that I may have spoiled your enjoyment of our show. But having said that, you need to practice what you preach. Because if you're upset about us spoiling something and then you do it in a iTunes review, where everybody can see it. Am I thinking wrong here, John?
No, that's probably what bothered me the most. I mean, he's telling us what such a big deal it is to give up that spoiler, and then he lays the spoiler out on iTunes, which could possibly have ruined it for other people. But you know what? That's kind of nitpicking or maybe missing the point, because it's really not a spoiler, like you said, Brad, because it's been out there. Robert Kirkman openly talks about it, and the point,
constantly,
right? And the point of talking about it is, how the show is completely different. There's no way that Shane's death is going to be the same as in the comic anymore. It can't be that, even if it happens the same way, which we will not ever spoil.
Because that is the spoiler.
Right, that is the spoiler. Right. When did he die in the comic? Is it issue 5 or 6?
Issue 6.
Okay,
issue 6 at the very end of the first trade.
Right. So they don't even break camp at issue 6. I mean,
not at all.
They basically Rick shows up. He made it. Holy cow! And Shane's dead. Like in the next couple.
Translate that to the show episodes. That would be what, episode 5 at the latest?
Pretty much, because there's no CDC stuff in the book.
Yeah, 4 or 5. So we're talking first season.
Right. And we've even argued that the show is now Shane's show.
Yeah,
so
it is a completely different show than the comic.
So it's really not a spoiler anymore. And again, listen, I appreciate you leaving a review. I appreciate you still listening. And I honestly hope we don't lose you. But in this case, I really can't. I can't apologize for a spoiler that we did warn everybody about, and it's not even a spoiler anymore.
It would just be impractical for us to say every single episode, here's a spoiler warning for something that isn't a spoiler for the show, because like you guys said, it did not happen that way. And we don't know that Shane will die in the show ever, quite frankly, let alone whether it'll happen the same way it happened in the book, let alone the fact that we won't mention names, but there are other characters in the show that you're watching right now that are dead in the books at this point. And we're not going to mention them because it's not important for the discussion of the show right now, but Shane's, the fact that he is alive, it would be really difficult to discuss certain things, like incredibly difficult and needlessly so to discuss them about the show without mentioning the fact that this is completely brand new stuff, with brand new dynamic that John Bernthal and the writers have brought with Shane being alive. It's just impractical. So like the other guys have said, we're sorry if we've spoiled the fact that he's dead in the comics for you, but that doesn't spoil anything in the show. And if all you know that he's dead in the comics, again, nothing in the comics is spoiled either, because that's not the spoiler. Trust us.
Right, exactly. And here's the deal. We have, like you, Elijah, have absolutely no idea who's going to die next. We have absolutely no idea if Shane is going to live or die in the next episode. We're in the same boat as you, brother. So we are just as excited to know what's coming up as you. And again, like John and Jordan have both said, Shane dying is not the spoiler. How it happens is the important part. And I believe that we, as a group, would be remiss if we didn't point out the fact that at this point, because Shane is alive, it's completely different. There are familiar settings, familiar characters, familiar themes, familiar events, but it truly is an alternate version of the comic. So, I felt like it was important to tell you guys that, just so you'll know just how special the show is. If I sound melodramatic, that's just the way I am. Oh, and a spoiler alert, Elijah, when we're done recording tonight, I'm probably going to go take a leak right after this.
One note to our listeners in general, I mean, just so you guys know, we really do agonize over not spoiling the listenership in general. I mean, there are parts in pretty much every episode where we'll have a 5-minute discussion, and then we'll talk about it afterwards and go, you know what, that went too far, and we cut it out, so we won't spoil you. We're very, very focused on keeping you guys as spoiler-free as we possibly can.
And in some instances, it's not as bad. Like in terms of Andrea becoming a good shot and what was going on in the barn, the resolution came quickly enough that it wasn't that big a deal. But imagine trying to keep all those cats in the bag if they continued those storylines. I mean, like everybody's saying, it's impossible to hide Shane's because he's such a big part of the show. The other ones are a little more easy because they ended quickly, so we didn't have to hold it up for very long. But I don't want to lessen the thanks for the other iTunes reviews we got. We kind of breezed through them to get to this issue, but we appreciate all of them, and thanks to everyone.
Yeah, and I don't want anybody, and you especially, Elijah, to think that I'm taking your concerns with a grain of salt or whatever. I'm not. If I didn't read the show and I heard something like this on the podcast, I would be concerned that maybe the podcast I was listening to, those people have changed the way they're going to do the show, and are they going to start spoiling more? I get it. I understand your concern. But you can rest assured that whatever big spoilers that we see coming because we're familiar with the comics, we are not going to let them slip. We go through a severe editing process, before we ever start recording and after we've recorded, to make sure that we're very careful with all that stuff. So thank you for listening, and please take anything that I say that may sound snarky towards you as just with a grain of salt.
So back to the fun Walking Dead stuff. Before we kind of wrap up Pretty Much Dead Already and kind of talk about the first half of the season, let you know what's going to go on for the break and everything, there's one bit of news that I just want to touch on. The Rise of the Governor novel is going to be getting a deluxe hardcover sort of graphic novel treatment, which is really cool. It looks really nice. If you guys look on Amazon, it's up already. It's not going to be a full-blown comic version of the story, but it's going to be a graphic novel in that there's going to be art added, and the art is going to be by either Charlie Adler or
the art
Tony Moore.
Charlie Adler.
Okay, great. So it's not going to be Tony Moore. It's going to be Charlie Adler, who's currently drawing The Walking Dead and has been since when did Tony Moore leave the book?
Issue 7.
Right. Right. So right after Shane died, Charlie Adler took over the art, so he's been doing it forever. So
will
that would be cool.
these be new art pieces that have to do with the story?
Yes.
I gotta assume they have to be, right? Since none of this happened in the book.
It looks like it's going to be like every few pages of text, there's going to be like a splash page of art.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't say common, but this isn't the first time that books like this have been, as far as in the genre of things that we enjoy. There was a really cool book called Aliens: Tribes, and it was about different tribes of the alien creatures, and they did it the same way. It was mostly prose, and every once in a while there was some really cool Dave Dorman art. So this will be neat. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't have the audiobook, and I haven't listened to it yet. So now I'm wondering, maybe I shouldn't listen to it. Maybe I should read the deluxe version. So that's very cool.
I like that it's Adler because it sort of ties it into the comic world for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes it part of the universe because the art's the same and the zombies will look the same. And
now I loved Tony Moore's art, and when I got that second trade, I was like, oh boy, what is this new artist? I'm not sure about this, but at this point, honestly, I could not imagine going back to Tony Moore's art. They have a different feel. They both work, but at this point, this is Charlie Adler's universe, and I'm happy with it.
Very good. So we have a bunch of voicemails and emails that we want to talk about at the end of the first half of season 2. So we're going to jump right into those. I'm going to start with our buddy Daryl.
Hey, this is Daryl, and I'm calling about The Walking Dead Global Season 2, which has really been kind of up and down with me. Like, I like the show for the most part, really love the comic, and I think because I love the comic so much, that kind of, it kind of turns me from not enjoying the show as much, because I think Dale is a very weak character in the TV show, as opposed to the podcast, because he's so judgmental and nosy, and instead of in the comic, he was much more, he seemed much more intelligent, wise, and encouraging, and helpful. And Glenn seems a little less he seems a little bit more watered down in the TV show also than in the comic. And Andrea, I can't even stand her in the TV show, but I always enjoyed her in the comic book. So I don't know, the season's been very kind of slow, and it seems like they wasted a lot of time on scenes that they really didn't add to the story. But that's just my opinion. But I love the podcast. With every episode, you guys do a great job. So take care, Flair.
All right, thanks, Daryl. Daryl is of the famous Daryl Taylor podcasting network. He's on I lost track of all the shows that Daryl is on.
Yeah, there's like 10 or 15, almost seriously. I mean, it's crazy.
And it's all good stuff. So check out Daryl Taylor's podcasting network when you get a chance. I agree on a couple of things. I agree that I don't know if I enjoy this show more because I'm so interested to see what they do with my comic characters that I love. And I also agree that it was a bit uneven with ups and downs. The last two episodes definitely saved the first half of the season for me. I mean, I thought they were both excellent, but there were points in the middle where I was like, I don't know. And I think we reflected that pretty well in the show.
I would say so. I mean, thinking back, I don't think we were all just completely enamored with each and every episode. There was a couple of times when I was like, okay, let's keep it moving, and then there was a couple that was just freaking awesome, like the last two episodes.
How do you feel about? I don't want to compare too much to the comic version, but in general, how do you feel about Glenn and Dale, or Glenn or Dale, being sort of wishy-washy and weak characters? I get what he's saying with Dale because of the whole Andrea whiny thing going on.
Well, thinking back about, again, it's for Dale in the show, it's the Shane factor. Shane is undermining Dale's confidence in several areas, and I think it's that simple for Dale. He's a little different character because Shane's around. Glenn, thinking back about him in the comics, he had moments of self-doubt, and I don't know if wishy-washy is the right term, but I think, honestly, out of everybody on the show, Glenn's TV character is most similar to his comic character as far as the way they think, act, talk, stuff like that. I'm really happy with Glenn, which is funny because if you think back to our first couple episodes, when we reviewed episode 1, I was really unhappy with Steven Yeun's acting, but he's really come full circle in that. So I'm really liking Glenn. I don't really have a problem with how he is portrayed because I think it's extremely similar to the comic book.
One of the things that happens in TV is as the writers get used to the actors, they start to write to the actors' strengths as well. So if one of the actors' strengths is different, or maybe they don't excel in one area as much as they do in another, the writing is going to reflect that, and it's going to move to, hey, this actor does this really well, or can't do this other thing quite as well, and maybe they just see more of the comedic potential in Glenn. And I think Steven Yeun has done a great job in terms of those more self-doubt moments, those moments of humor. That if he can do it really well, that's probably why they're writing it in there more than it was in the books, where it's just a character being written by an author that isn't actually being portrayed by anyone.
And I think that's a really good point, especially with Glenn, because if you think about the first, I guess it was in Guts maybe, when he jumps into the sewer, and he's trying to be like very sure of himself, like, no, I can't have you guys slowing me down, I'm going alone. Like, he tried to be like a very strong, he was a very strong character, I think they were trying for. But then, now if you look at Glenn, I think this could go for a couple of characters. If you watch the whole 12 episodes, simultaneously, not simultaneously, back to back right now.
That would be very difficult, John.
Yes,
you'd have to have 12 copies of the Blu-ray.
Right.
You'd have to have 12 Blu-ray players.
You'd be like the architect in the Matrix with all the TVs running. So, and I guess my point is, like, I'm a big Seinfeld fan, right? So if you watch Seinfeld's on reruns, first season Kramer is way different than fourth season Kramer, who's way different from season 9 Kramer. So, and that's just what happens, I think, naturally.
Agreed.
I can't think of any show where that doesn't happen.
Three's Company, Mr. Furley, was exactly the same. Okay, we're not going to go.
Andy Rooney was the same way in all 400 episodes of 60 Minutes he was in.
Well, and Michael Douglas is the same character in every movie he's in too, so I guess it does happen.
Here is one from TJ in Michigan.
Hey guys, it's TJ from Michigan. I had a real good theory on the mid-season finale, but I'm an idiot and I just read all the spoilers for next week, so that's shot. But anyway, I'm calling to say that if they don't give Rick that Gerber hatchet soon, I'm going to go freaking nuts, because by this time in the comic, he's had the hatchet in full swing. So anyway, love the show.
So I guess that was sent before the finale, and I think Rick gets that hatchet moment. I think he probably literally means the hatchet, but for me, the hatchet is symbolic of Rick, getting his man back and taking out Sophia at the end of the last episode. I think put him on the straight and narrow.
Right. This is another tricky gray area to discuss. If memory serves, he gets that hatchet for a very specific reason. This hasn't happened in the TV show, so.
Yeah, he might have been more metaphorical, like you were saying, just because there are those Gerber tools floating around the set that Carl pulled out of the truck in episode 2 or whatever.
Also,
that was still a great scene when he did that.
Yeah.
The thing that sticks out to me about the hatchet in the comics, and this could be totally off, it's just kind of like my semi-remembrance of what goes on in the comic. It seemed like they were concerned about noise more in the books.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about that recently with the whole farm, not necessarily just in our Facebook group, I've seen on other forums as well. I don't know that they made a big enough deal that they were driving off the farm for their target practice, because a lot of people didn't seem to catch that. Like, all that target practice, except for at the barn right at the end, was not done on the farm, or at least not in the same vicinity. They drove there.
Right, they could have just had one throwaway line.
Yeah.
Like, we're driving a couple miles down the road for some target practice or whatever.
And either they didn't have that or they didn't emphasize it enough. But being so far out in the middle of nowhere and being where they can see everywhere around them, they got the swamp and the fences, I think they maybe could have done a better job of explaining it, but it doesn't bother me so much this season. I don't know.
Jordan, you want to do an email or two before we hit the rest of the
Sure. The first one we've got is from Richard, and he says, "Hello, Walking Dead TV podcast. My name is Richard, and I just recently started listening to your podcast. I'm now caught up on all the episodes, including commentary. In your most recent podcast, you stated that The Walking Dead feels like a what-if Marvel comic. I could not agree with you more. Then you go on to say that you hope some of your favorite moments from the comic are translated to the small screen. I'm sorry, but this is not going to happen. The TV series is Shane's show, like you said before, John. Robert Kirkman, at a recent Comic-Con, I don't know if it was Seattle or New York, I saw it on your feed. I think he means San Diego, but regardless, stated that the biggest mistake he made with the comic book was killing Shane. At the time, he didn't think the comic would last past issue 6, so he killed off Shane as a form of closure. But as we all know, the comic is now up to issue 90. I think the TV show is Kirkman's reboot of The Walking Dead, as Shane is a protagonist anti-hero. Imagine what things would be like if Shane was alive in issue 90 of the comics, and you can still get an idea where Kirkman is going with the show. Here are a few ideas. Shane blows his head off when he first meets him. Survives because Shane is there to protect him. Herschel has a heart attack because of the shock of what happened with the walkers in his barn, and Maggie blames Glenn destroying their future together. Merle kills takes over his territory. Rick never develops the way he did in the comic because Shane is around. My predictions for the season 2 finale of The Walking Dead is that Dale will get the jump on Shane, this time determined to kill Shane, except Dale gets shot in the back, and the person who shoots Dale is Andrea protecting Shane. Thank you for reading my email, and I could go on and on about Shane, but I just want to give you something to think about. Do what I did and start reading each issue of the comic and insert Shane in there as you know him from the TV show, and you'll start to see some wild stuff start to happen. Your latest fan, Richard. I like his theory about maybe Andrew shooting Dale to protect Shane. That could be a very interesting twist.
It could totally happen in this what if version of the show.
I'm ready for a big shakeup. I'm ready for Dale to get shot or Maggie, something we're totally not expecting.
Well, was the Sophia thing not a big enough shakeup for you?
You know what? I can't even remember how it was resolved in the comic. So no.
Well,
So
let's put it this way: Sophia did not make a big enough impression on me in the show or in the comic for it to make too much of a difference. Whereas one of those adult characters, it could make a difference.
yeah, I don't know. The Sophia thing, I think I saw it coming, and I don't know. A lot of people said they were shocked, so that's cool. I hope that was very shocking to most of the audience because that's a great half-season cliffhanger. Well, it's not a cliffhanger. It's a great way to end your half-season.
Our next email is from our buddy Aaron North. You can hear on Out Now with Aaron Abel at hhwled.com. He starts off by saying, in parentheses, sorry these aren't getting any shorter. Hey guys, last episode of the year, I'll try to summarize some of my thoughts. The way the story unfolds here could be referred to it as a pot boiler, but I'm going to think of it more as a Shane boiler. This episode seemed very focused on really laying out a lot of stressful elements onto Shane and having him channel his rage into what becomes what I'm calling the Great Zombie Massacre of November 27, 2011. There are a few main things I want to take note of, but first I will say that I did like the moments between Maggie and Glenn, or as he's calling them Team Gaggy, and Daryl and Carol, DC Hillbilly Universe. Anyway, I really love Dale, but this depiction of him was not the best. I think he needed way more motivation to go to the lengths of hiding the guns, bad move, beyond making grand accusations and being annoyed with Shane's relationship with Andrea. I don't think this was as well as established to Dale's personality as it had been to us, the audience. We know who Shane is, but Dale is going off on a lot of speculation that didn't feel earned, regardless of how tense the scene may have been. I overall came off siding with Shane more than Dale in terms of how the plotline was presented. Now, in a battle of old guy character development, Herschel, on the other hand, has been set up very well in revealing the various shades of his character, and I enjoyed he and Rick's interactions together. It was especially effective to see the walkers in the swamp being handled and witnessing how right Rick truly is about how wrong it is to try to non-lethally handle these creatures. Of course, the ending is where things really took off, and I was honestly upset a bit with the initial outcome, but having since calmed down, I have come to appreciate why it works quite well. Separating myself from the comic and the Annoying Foundation and newfound nitpickery I have concerning the basis of Sophia's missing storyline. It was a good way to bring that plot to an end, to build it up as if it was excellent though. With Shane making great points about why Herschel was wrong, I honestly was pretty sure that he was going to die at this point, given some of the overly dramatic dialogue, which usually signifies that someone's going to die soon. Seriously, I was just waiting for walkers to burst out of the barn and devour Shane. The first shootout was intense. Hey look, it's T-Dog, remember him? But the final moment of Rick standing up to take out Sophia was well done, reminiscent to the first scene of the series of course as well, where this is why I'm adding this, but where Rick shot the little girl at the gas station. Maybe some more could have been done with others beyond shock and awe. There were family members in that barn, more emphasis could have been given to Herschel's reactions to some of those deaths. I completely agree. But overall, it was very dark in the way that Walking Dead should be. 4.5 busters. Looking forward to February. Happy to help fill in leading up to it. Final note, as a reader of the comics, Shane's effect on the series is like when Biff stole the sports almanac and traveled back to the past, creating an alternate timeline. I'm digging it for now. Sophia was never really important in the scheme of things, but poor Carl. So thank you very much, Aaron.
Yes, we appreciate Aaron's input as always, and definitely if you're a fan of film, you should, besides checking it out now, you should check out Aaron's blogs as well that go up on hhwled.com and whysoblue.com. They do tons of reviews, and Aaron gets to see a lot of new films, and we always enjoy his input.
He's an excellent writer.
Yep. Let's go with Jimmy in Georgia.
Hey guys, this is Jimmy in Georgia. I believe he talks about pretty much the end already. I definitely was glad to see a good, strong mid-season finale. I enjoyed this episode at all. The ending especially was good, where Shane goes crazy, the zombies get killed, and then Sophia finally shows up. And I must say, this is one of those times, as a comic reader, at least, a lot of them, not all of them, I thought she was going to come alive because she's in the comics later on. So for once, they surprised us with a twist like that. I thought that was really good. And I guess that's pretty much all I want to say. Thanks guys for a great podcast. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jimmy.
It's so nice to be a part of something that people enjoy, isn't that just cool?
It was very fun.
It's a lot of fun. I wasn't totally blown away by the Sophia death, but again, I want to see more. I want to see those twists. If it's going to be different than the book, let's have it be freaking different. Kill somebody big. Do it.
There were times reading the comic when we weren't actually sure if Rick was going to make it to the next issue. And that's happened more than once. So it just would not surprise me if we come back from break and they kill the main character off. It just wouldn't surprise me in the least.
There hasn't been any other instances. Let's put it this way: who's died? Jim has died, and that was pretty much dead out of the book.
And there was a bunch of other red shirts in the background who died.
Amy died. Same way.
Right.
Jackie sacrificed herself along with Jenner.
Neither of those were in the book.
Right.
So besides people being alive that aren't alive in the books anymore, there really hasn't been too many instances of people dying that didn't die in the book.
Otis died in the book, but a different way.
Right.
And was around a bit longer, if I remember correctly, right?
He was.
And Carol's husband was not even in the books, if I remember correctly.
She mentioned him briefly, not even by name, but it was in issue 4. I can still see the panel drawn by Tony Moore of Carol when she mentions that she was in a troubled marriage, but she never mentioned the name. In fact, this reminds me that I read an article where Kirkman or whoever the writers or whoever was involved, pulled that one line of dialogue and created the character of Ed for the TV show.
And that's great stuff. Like, I love the filling in between the cracks sort of writing. That's really cool. When they can pull something that we know happened and create a whole other story out of it, I'd love to see more of that type of thing.
And I think we've seen, a bit of that with these flashbacks that they've given us in season 2. We didn't get anything. We got one flashback in the comic, if memory serves. And other than, how the comic starts with Rick and Shane.
Was that the beginning of issue 7, if I remember correctly?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to make sure we think of the same thing.
Would you guys like to see more flashbacks in general, like a lost type of, let's clip here and see what this person was up to beforehand?
Maybe
or is
every
it too
once in a
cliche,
while.
too cliche maybe?
At that level, but not every episode.
Yeah, I don't think I'd need it to be the same way as it was in Lost. I mean, the way they've given it to us now with a couple of flashbacks, Lori, they're all directly related to how they got to where they are now. At least the 2 flashbacks we've seen, recent flashbacks anyways. I don't think they're necessary. I think they're neat. I think they provide a little bit of insight, but I don't feel a need. They were such an integral part of Lost. It was almost like you needed those flashbacks to see just how connected all these characters were in Lost, but you don't need the flashbacks in Walking Dead for that same reason. It's just like gravy on your mashed potatoes, or sprinkles on your chocolate shake, whichever.
Sprinkles on a chocolate shake in Texas?
Yeah, Chili's.
Interesting.
Here's another voicemail, which I did not label with the name of the person who it is.
Hi guys, this is Ryan from Manchester, New Hampshire.
think it's Ryan.
I just want to comment on the latest episode. I thought it was the best one so far, and I just gotta say about Sophia is, wow, did not actually see that coming. I don't know why, I feel kind of stupid now, but yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome. The Shane just kind of snapping and opening up the barn and going crazy like that was probably the best television I've seen in a long time. Just wanted to give my 2 cents. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. Thanks. Bye.
See, I wouldn't feel stupid at all. To me, that's one of the most pleasant surprises I ever get when I'm watching a show or watching a movie. Is when something happens that I didn't totally see coming. That's what gets me going. So I wouldn't feel stupid. I would feel blessed that you didn't see that coming because it was awesome.
Thank you, Ryan. And here's our last voicemail.
Hey guys, Joe Dan. I have a Walking Dead comment, and I guess possible conversation starter. The last episode was phenomenal, in my opinion. And I was thinking, that's like a mid-season finale. But if things were like last year, where they only did 6 episodes, and that was it, wait a whole another year, do you guys feel that the last episode was good enough to end the season, not necessarily just halfway through the season? I think it did, but just wanted to know what your thoughts were. And granted, I'm happy that there'll be more episodes back in February, but if I had to wait another year, I think it left a good enough taste in my mouth to last me until next Halloween, October. So anyway, that was it. Keep the good work. Talk to you later. Bye.
I don't think it was good enough, or I don't know if it's good enough necessarily. I don't think it would work as a season finale, but it wasn't intended to be, so it doesn't bother me in the least.
I call those types of episodes that end either a season or like a half season or whatever, I call those Land of the Lost finales, because the very first season of the old TV show Land of the Lost ended as if the show had ended and there wouldn't be no further episodes of that show. And I kind of see that if this was the very last episode of The Walking Dead, it wasn't a cliffhanger by any means. It was just a shocker. So I think season enders should be cliffhangers and not only shockers. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't have wanted a season to end like this. I want a season to end in a way that makes me go, oh my gosh, what happens next? And this one didn't make me think, oh my gosh, what happens next? It made me think, oh my gosh, did they really just do that? And to me, that's totally different types of feelings.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd rather have the cliffhanger for a season ender. Can this be thought of as a cliffhanger in any ways? Are people really wondering, how Herschel's going to react, or?
Well, there are some unresolved questions, but I don't know that there are any cliffhangers. You know what I mean? I don't think all the unresolved questions that there are, I don't think they deserve the title cliffhanger.
No. What interests you? Let's talk a little bit about the finale what interests you about what's going to happen next? I was kind of hoping that we get a little bit more of how Rick and Shane act with each other right after the scene. I'm interested in are we going to really have like 2 camps type of thing from this point on, or did Rick just jump over to the Shane side to some extent?
I actually posted a thread on the Facebook page asking, if the camp does split, who would you go with? Would you go with Shane? Would you go with Rick? Or even would you stay with Herschel? And there's a lot of interesting discussion there. So, there's a lot of viewpoints either way for whether people feel safer with Shane, if they still think, Rick is kind of milquetoast, or whether they feel safer with Rick because Shane is kind of a homicidal maniac.
Let's say I told you that the group was going to split in 2. They were actually going to go separate ways, a Shane group and a Rick group. And I don't know that. I'm making this all up, so it's not a spoiler. How do you think it would break down? Obviously, it would be Rick, Dale, Glenn, I'm thinking. Shane, Andrea, Daryl.
I think Dale might go with Shane just to keep an eye on him and Lori, or him and Andrea.
Interesting. And Lori would go on the Rick side. And if Glenn and Maggie are a pair.
Glenn and Maggie would probably go with Rick.
And Carol, do you think would follow Daryl because their names rhyme?
Well, I don't think because of the rhyme, but she would probably go wherever he goes. And him, I think he's kind of a wild card.
That's actually
a Run DMC song?
Yeah, thank you. It's actually a line from a Run DMC song.
That's actually a line from our closing music now.
That is awesome. Carol follows Daryl every gig he play. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's interesting. I don't think they do it. I don't think they do an actual split and kind of show one camp, show the other camp. Maybe they meet up again sometime. But it's interesting to think about how it would break down. I'm Team Shane, by the way.
I'd go Team Rick because I really want to watch him transform into the Rick I know. I really want to see it happen.
I'd go with Rick as well because I'm a little too close to Otis.
Come again?
I'm a little too close to Otis' size. Let's put it that way.
Rule number 1, cardio. How about some more emails, Mr. from Jersey?
Sure, we got 1 email left, and this one is from Ellery. 5 out of 5 busters. I loved it. Shane was right. The old man knew the little girl was there all along, risking lives. Man, I can't wait until February. Great show.
Very good. So how about as a whole, as we look back at the first half of the season, any disappointments, anything you're hoping for, predictions?
If I'm disappointed in anything, it was the unnecessarily long, drawn-out Sophia line. The payoff was awesome, but I really think it kind of stalled the middle of these, first few episodes. I think it kind of slowed the pace down, and I've actually heard some people go, I was interested into the show until it just kind of slowed down, and I'm not into it anymore. That's always a little disheartening as a fan of the show. You want people not to leave, but I'm a little disappointed that it was drawn out. That's all.
When you look back now, like now that you know the resolution, okay, she was in the barn and they shot her. Like, what is that scene of Daryl hunting around in that house and finding the little bed in the closet and stuff? Like, what is that now?
Well, that could be one of our, clues into what's going to happen in the second half of the season. Finding out what was going on in that house.
I mean, you could absolutely be right. I don't see Sophia being a plot point anymore. I don't see them. It seems very cut and dry. She was in the barn. There might be question of like whether Herschel knew she was in there or not, but it doesn't look like there's going to be that going on either. I just don't see them revisiting like her being on the run and stuff.
What I'm saying is, if it wasn't her there, they might want to go back and find out who was there. Is it Merle? Is it something completely separate? Or maybe they just had out the Fort Benning. I don't want to speak for all of this, but I know I'm for sure ready. And I know a lot of our listeners are ready for them to get off the farm. I don't think that means necessarily them getting to the next major landmark yet, to put it vaguely, but at least get them back on the road. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just looking at that and the whole Cherokee Rose thing and the talks between Carol and Daryl, and it just the way that it resolved itself, it seems like that was all wasted time. I mean, again, I don't know what they're going to do in the second half. Maybe it's part of the relationship that they build between Daryl and Carol, which is hysterical every time I say it now.
Well, there was there was a lot of character, like you said, a lot of character building, character interaction. Secrets were revealed. That whole bit. It's not like nothing happened, but I feel you. I know what you're saying.
And I'm just to be clear, I'm pointing out like that particular scene. I didn't feel nothing happened like the entire first half of the season. I just look at those. I think to myself, why did the Sophia thing drag on? And when you look at all of the time they spent on things like that, it seems, I don't know, crazy now. But we'll see where they take it, I guess.
Exactly.
Where would you guys see? I don't think it was as good as season 1, but granted, this is only a half season, so it could have 5 great ones in a row in the second half, and then be thought of as better than season 1. But so far, I think season 1. I think I enjoyed season 1 more. What do you guys think? Did you think of that at all?
I enjoyed them evenly. I think there was enough good in this season for me anyway, compared to the first season that I think they were on the same level.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different. I mean, just the nature of having only 6 episodes that first season, the storytelling was a bit more compressed, a lot more getting from point A to point B to point C, and then heading back to point A several times. But I don't know that necessarily makes it a better show. You know what I mean? Like, this one was slower this season, certainly, but that doesn't make it worse. It just makes it different. I probably preferred that faster pace of the first season a little more, but again, it's all going to depend on how are they going to pay off things set up in this first half of the season in part 2. And without knowing that, I don't really feel comfortable, painting with a broad brush in terms of how I felt about just these first 7 episodes.
Yeah. My gut is that the second half of the season plays like another season entirely. I don't think they're going to dwell too much on first half stuff, and they didn't really leave a lot of threads dangling. But we'll see, I guess. It feels like a 6-episode chunk at a time thing now. You know what I mean? Because the whole first season was 6, and then they took a break, and it sounds like they're going to be taking a break, every 6. I think I read that somewhere for the following season.
It would make sense. I mean, you have the holiday season and the Super Bowl at the same time every year, so it just makes sense.
Do we know how many episodes there are going to be total in this second season?
13.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there were 7.
AMC's normally is 13.
There were 7, right? Didn't we have 7?
Yeah, 7.5 kind of because the season premiere was 90 minutes again.
Okay.
All right, I keep
And
saying
I
6.
haven't heard anything about there being an extended, we don't know yet, but there could be theoretically an extended season 2 part 2 premiere or finale. That's always an option open to them. So we could have slightly more time than we think.
Anything else before we put a bow on the first half of season 2?
As far as the second half goes, I had been scoping out some of the videos on AMCTV.com. There was one in particular where the cast was talking about what's coming in the second half of the season, and more than one of them said that it's basically just going to be like a downhill thing. Once that ball starts rolling, it's not going to stop for the entire second half of the second season. So that gives me hope hearing more than one cast member talk about it. That way, like they're excited about it. If they're excited about it, I'm going to be excited about it because they're involved with it. If you hear a cast member go, it's going to be all right, I guess, and I'll probably stop watching. But to hear, and not that anybody on the show is going to not talk like they're excited about it, but they just seemed genuine when they said, "Man, this is just going to knock your socks off." Like I said, more than one of them said that, so it's making me excited.
I've actually got a quote from Norman Reedus here about season 2.5, and here's what he says: "I can say that in the second half, after this hiatus, people are done talking." He explained, "It's all kind of firecrackers from here on out. It's more action packed. The first part of the season gets slow when people have to talk. That's just how it works. I think the writers have done a great job of setting up storylines and explaining them when they need to be explained, not over talking and not overthinking it. There are certain things that need to be said to keep the story moving, and I think they've done a great job with it. I know when people watch the show, they go more zombies, more death, but you have to do a bit of talking. Otherwise, it's Transformers. So second half of the season, firecrackers."
Sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah, makes me happy.
And I think what you said, Brad, about the cast being excited and everything, I mean, we've seen them now, last year's New York Comic-Con and San Diego and New York again this year, and every time that I see them at a panel or some kind of get-together, they're pretty genuine and happy about what's going on, so.
Yeah, they all just, John Bernthal just constantly. My mom, like I said recently, she loves the show, she watches it. She was talking to me last week or whatever. She goes, "I don't remember what show it was on, but John Bernthal was on some daytime talk show, and I heard him talking about it. He just acts like he just loves the show, and he's so excited about it, and, it's not just us that are picking up on that, it's my mom for crying out loud, so it's, he's actually, apparently he's excited, he's pretty genuine about it.
I guess it's pretty easy to get excited about being on the biggest cable show of all time. I mean, which officially it is now, isn't that right, Jordan? Like, they've officially passed the viewing number or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know if it extends to HBO and Showtime, but at least for basic cable, it's the biggest show ever. So that's awesome.
So we have a hiatus coming up here. The Walking Dead TV podcast is not going to abandon you completely. We are going to take some weeks off, but we're going to be around. Some of the things we have planned, we are setting up an interview with a cast member that hopefully will come through. I'm not going to mention who it might be because these things can fall through. And we are going to have a real live girl on the show with us, which is very exciting. We're going to have a couple of shows where we're going to spotlight out now with Aaron and Abe. We're going to have Aaron and Abe come on and talk about zombie stuff. So I think they're doing like a best of zombie movies type of show for us. And aren't you doing a commentary track with them, Jordan, for one of the classic?
We are. I won't spoil which movie it's going to be, but we're going to be recording a commentary for a very well-known and well-beloved zombie classic. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
So we're going to have that stuff with Out Now. We're toying with maybe a Zombieland commentary track as well. We're thinking about doing some talking about the comics on the Legion of Dudes show, where we'll go over some of the graphic novels, and we might run them here as well, so people that do enjoy the comics can tune in and hear our thoughts about what's going on.
And we will fully warn you about any spoilers on that one.
Yeah, we'll basically just tell the people that only watch the TV show to leave after we read the sponsorship, of course, and, and say hello. And we might even have some other surprises. There are some other things being bandied around. Brad is involved with them, and who knows, they might make an appearance at some point. We're hoping to get out 2 shows a month over the 12 weeks that are off here. Give or take, maybe one month there might be 3 shows, and the next one there might only be 1. But we appreciate everybody that sticks around while the TV show is not airing. It really helps us out to leave your subscription right where it is and download the shows, even if the content doesn't interest you as much. But we promise to make it fun for you. We're going to have a lot of fun mixing it up for these next few months.
Have we decided whether or not we're going to do that all haiku show when all we do is speak in 17-syllable sentences?
I'm up for it.
Hey, Brad, I'm not even joking. For one of my law school classes this past semester, I wrote a haiku involving zombies for a class and got credit for it.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to start writing Walking Dead haikus. Hey, listeners, send us your best Walking Dead haikus. Let's hear about it. Let's hear them. Maybe we can figure out something to do with them. Maybe we can make a shirt. Let's do that, John. Let's have our listeners send in their best attempts at Walking Dead haikus. And since it's the 3 of us on this one, we'll just let the 3 of us pick our favorite haiku, and we'll put it on a shirt, and we'll throw it up in the shop with our other shirts. What do you think?
Sounds good. And I'm glad you brought up
See what I did there? See how I did that?
You're excellent at podcasting. We have, hang around, again, in the off-season, hang around the Facebook group, hang around the Twitter at WDTV Podcast. We still have cool stuff to give away. We have another signed book from Jordan. We have a Rise of the Governor novel. We have Russ's Season 1 Blu-ray we still have not given away. And I have this Big Mother Volume 1 trade paperback signed by the entire cast that was at New York Comic-Con and Robert Kirkman. So it's like Kirkman, Stephen Yeun, Bernthal, Norman Reedus.
All the classics.
Yeah, Maggie did not sign it. She ran off. That's not Lori Holden. That is Lauren Cohan. She was the only one that I missed on. But everybody else at New York Comic-Con signed the book. And we're trying to think of a way to give that away. So pay attention, hang around. And Jordan, you're going to wrap this up for the first half of Season 2.
Yes, sir. You can send us a voicemail at 516-468-7912 or an email, comments at walkingdeadtv.com. Don't forget, you can hear all of our shows on YouTube now, Walking Dead TV Podcast. Also, catch Con videos, contests, and more there. Check out hhwlod.com for all of our great shows like Half Hour Weekly, Legion of Dudes, PKD Black Box, and Out Now with Aaron and Abe. Also, keep an eye out for our less regular shows like Media Minutes and the brand new Tech Dudes podcast. Of course, all these shows can be found on Facebook as well. Check out forumforgeeks.com for the Walking Dead Podcast Network, and you can follow us on Twitter at WDTV Podcast and at HHWLOD_network. So, until there's no more room in hell and the dead walk the earth, remember, just because because there aren't new episodes of Walking Dead till February doesn't mean there will be tons of new content here on this podcast feed. So check back early and often for tons of great new shows. And have a good week.
Good night.
See ya.
Sorry about that mic noise. I just hit that. Okay. And if this is your first time to use this,
Hold on one second. Hold on. I'm sorry, Brad. Who's jingling like a beer
Yeah.
bottle?
Yeah, is there a bird who's throwing around like nuts and bolts?
that's my dog.
Ah.
I'm in the office, and I let the dog in because it's cold and rainy outside, and he's in his kennel, and he's taking a drink. Hank,
So when it's my turn to bring a noisy pet, do I just have my sister in the background like making noise?
you got
Please
nothing
don't let your sister listen to these bloopers after that comment.
about it? Here.
Brad, is your dog a cow by any chance?
I'm sorry, buddy. I know you're thirsty, but I'm going to take this out, okay? So you're going to have to you just have to relax a little bit, okay? Can you wait 45 minutes? All right, that's great. Okay, what was I saying?
I have no idea. We talked about 100 issues,
Oh, I
your
know.
heart attack, and then you started saying something.
I got it.
Guys, my doorbell's ringing. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Hit the doorbell.
Jordan has friends.
He didn't say it was a friend. He said it was the doorbell.
That's true. That picture he sent of him looking like Bane, that was completely scary.
You didn't see that one?
No, I saw it when he sent it.
Back sorry about that.
Quite all right.
Was it a Mormon?
No, it's my aunt. She's staying overnight.
Ah, I knew he didn't have friends.
We're going to have time with them later. But
You missed it, Brad. You said you were getting the door, and Brad said Jordan has friends. And I said he didn't say it was friends. He said the doorbell.
I've actually got a quote from Norman Reedus right here from. I've actually got a quote from Norman